So let's jump first into our first topic of this episode, and that is Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. No doubt the biggest story of the week, and quite possibly probably the biggest one really of the year. The new Star Wars Galaxy's Edge themed area has opened in California. In main Disneyland Resort. It will be opening up on the end of August in Hollywood Studios in Walt Disney World. So everyone that's kind of on the East Coast will have to wait a little bit unless they plan on going out to the West Coast.
It's one day after my birthday.
Oh! Are you going out to Florida this year?
I already did. March.
Oh yeah, you already did. Yeah.
I only go once. I only go once every 2 years, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm saving my next one for the 50th.
All right, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, we were nearly going to go for a sneaky one this year, but we decided against it and going to have a different kind of vacation. But it might be a few years before I get to see it, either at either of the parks. Probably California might be a little bit more of things because we kind of want to do something a little bit different. That's the thing. Sometimes, I love going to Orlando, but sometimes mixing up and going somewhere else is kind of quite nice. That's why.
That's the thing with me too, and especially I want to wait for the crowd to die down because I went to Harry Potter, I think a month after it opened in Universal, and the crowds were so bad that I haven't returned to Universal since, and that was back in 2010.
Oh yeah. There's been a lot of updates when we were this time last year. Literally this time last year we were at the parks, and Harry Potter wasn't as bad in the morning, but it was gradually getting busier. And I think that's the big thing with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. It's going to be busy for a while. The only good thing really with this one is because they've kind of built one on each coast. They're also building one in Disneyland Paris that will be opening up in a few years' time. So it helps spread it out a little bit. But they're going to be releasing different attractions as they go. So we've got, at the minute, we've got Smuggler's Run, which is a brand new Millennium Falcon ride. That's open as of now in Disneyland. But the Rise of Resistance ride is going to be a little bit later. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, kind of spread out the love.
The way I see it, it's a good thing because I don't want them to rush it, because I heard that the reason it didn't open at launch was because it's brand new technology and it's been breaking down every time they try to test the ride. So they want to iron it out for another few months before it gets released, because it's possibly the biggest e-ride Disney ever built. Yeah,
that's the key thing. Is you got to remember that they're better off waiting a little bit and doing it properly than trying to rush it. If the rest of the area and everything else was ready, I mean, they had to open with one ride. I mean, we've got other areas we've only have one attraction in. It's not a bad thing. I mean, the video footage that we've seen, I'm going to use some B-roll for the YouTube video this, and it just looks stunning. It just looks amazing how they do it. How you've got the theming, how they've got the big Millennium Falcon in the middle, they've got the X-Wings, the TIE Fighters, and you got to imagine that they are going to keep updating it with new content. There's little sneak peeks of bits and pieces.
No doubt.
Yeah, they're going to be, there's apparently pieces of stuff from Rise of the Skywalker and also the Mandalorian. There's things of that hidden in the set, so we obviously don't know what's going on there.
And there's a few things from Rebels.
Yeah.
Like some of the species in the Rebels are audiomatronics at the creature shop.
Yeah. And also, I mean, Hondo, he's kind of one of the big animatronics. And I mean,
he's from the cartoons.
Yeah.
This is the first time he's being used.
It's really funny because I've been watching through this year. I've gone through all of the Rebels episodes, and I'm currently on season 5 of the Clone Wars. I've now got so much more appreciation for characters like Hondo because I didn't necessarily know them a year ago. Now, when I see him, I recognize him and I know him as a fun character. Whereas
I got all my Rebel seasons here.
Oh, yes, very nice. Yeah, I have them on Disney Life in the UK, so we got the streaming service.
We don't have it here in Netflix. We just have Clone Wars, that's it.
Yeah, and of course that got taken off Netflix as well 2 months ago. I don't know about in Canada. I don't know if it's still in Canada.
I believe it is because the contract here, different. They have, I believe, a year, and then they take it off. Like Christopher Robin and such are still here, but they're not going to be here for much longer.
No. This is the thing. It's all going to be mixing around a bit, but Galaxy's Edge, I think it's going to be a big hit. It's going to draw people in. It's kind of interesting because it does seem to be quite a lot of bargains and stuff for like early September, as far as I was seeing, for going to the parks. They seem to be doing a lot of discounts. We saw massive discounts on some of the offerings that we were getting in September, which was why we were looking at going, was because they're going, I had to look at the dates and going, well, this is like a week after Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And I don't know if it's because people are avoiding it. And I do suspect if
I think yeah, because considering what happened after Pandora and Toy Story, it got so crowded and people were miserable in the first days that probably bad word got around and they're basically trying to avoid opening day again.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. If I as much as I'd love to go in there, and the same thing with Disneyland. If I was living in LA, I'd want to go do it. And if it was busy, to be like, yeah, I'm gonna. But you want the atmosphere of being there, and you want to be in on it. But on a vacation kind of thing, it's great if it ties in while you're there. But there is nothing worse than when you can see an attraction, and you know it's ready, and you know that they're testing it, and it's not opening for a few more days or another week. I had that with Ratatouille in Disneyland Paris. I could see through the gate. I could see the attraction. I could see it all. And I heard reports of them testing it, but it was opening a week later. And it was just one of those things. And obviously you have to wait then until you go back. But Galaxy's Edge, it just looks a stunning area. They really... Yeah. Oh, carry on.
I was saying I can't wait for a few months from now when they're going to unleash all the droids and all the citizens around to give it more life when the crowds die down.
I mean, that's the thing. There's a lot of stuff in there which they're selling, like the food and the beverages and all the different merchandise. I've spoke before about the merchandise. I'll be honest, at the minute, from what they've been putting at the images of, I'm not entirely sold on it. I know what they're trying to do of trying to offer this kind of themed stuff. It just all seems a little either too cheap or
too expensive.
It's like
$25,000 R2D2.
Yeah, that'll do. I'll have two of them. And the lightsabers of $200, but the soft toys all look a little bit like
it's because they're made to look like as if an alien made them. They're not meant to look like the ones you can get in stores.
Yes, whereas I view them more as that's what I would find down at my local fun fair when they come into town every 2 weeks a year. I personally don't think that I know what they're trying to do and trying to make it stand out away from the stuff that's in the stores, because they've got so much stuff. I don't know. It just like, to me, like the quality level of some of the new toys are so high. This feels like a step backwards. I don't know how much. Even if I was there, I might pick up a few things, but there's not a lot.
There's only one thing for me. Only one thing I want. It's the Porg. That's it.
Yeah,
but even then, I'm a little bit disappointed. It's more like a puppet. It really doesn't do much, but at least it makes the sounds.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. Kind of feels a little bit like that the Banshee shoulder puppet that we had.
Yeah,
that kind of quite popular for a little bit.
Now it's that like little minion that Jabba the Hutt had in Return of the Jedi. That weird like rat bird creature thing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what they do with it all. Like I said, the merchandise kind of has. I like the fact of how they've set it all up and they've done the stores and stuff. I do wonder what's going to happen in a year or two's time when they start looking at the numbers and going, like Galaxy's Outpost and the store down in downtown Disney and stuff are selling more merchandise than the gift. Because I do wonder if like the more traditional toys that we see outside and the other merchandise will start creeping in when they start realizing, oh, this stuff's not selling as well. Because I do think that I don't feel like this is going to set the world. Like, just looking at how people are talking about, there's not a lot of excitement over this stuff, and it's
it's just the food.
Yeah, food and things like that. I think it felt a little bit also with the same thing happened with Avatar. When that area opened up and the merchandise was, they were going for this whole idea of, oh, this is what would be found on the planet and all the rest of it. And it's like, people are looking at it going, no, it just looks like expensive tat. And I think that's where I can see what they're doing, and it's a lot probably very nicely profitable. But I do wonder if they'll start creeping in more traditional toys when because it's not selling as well, or they'll start putting stores maybe on the outer boundaries nearby, or start using that like the attraction, the shops near Star Tours for a lot more of that product. I don't know. It's gonna be. I wouldn't like to guess either way, but if in a few years' time, I wouldn't be at all surprised if this kind of gets replaced. And that's just my personal
feeling. Prediction I have, is that they're gonna take like the Hasbro toys and repackage it to look like it's from Band 2, so that way they can have the quality of products but still tied in.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing of like, they have got different products like that, but if they repackaged them a little bit more, they probably could get away with it, and I think people would love it. But we're in that kind of key thing now of how they keep rolling that along, and what's going to happen when people going back. If they go, no, that's a cheap puppet, I'll buy something else. Or I think as a whole, merchandise is a bit of a strange one. People will want. There's some like souvenirs and stuff which look great, but they are quite expensive, and unless you are a real diehard fan, you might not necessarily know what they are. Works for diehard people going there in maybe the first 3 to 6 months, but long term, people might more necessarily want a statue of a character they know. And I don't know. It's gonna be. We'll have to see what happens with there. But anything else catch your eye from that? From the opening of Star Wars Land: Galaxy's Edge?
I like the theming on like. Having characters like Chewbacca and Kylo Ren walking around, and he has new lines just for the marketplace. Like I heard, like corner the marketplace, make sure the rebel doesn't get away, and they do a little bit of a show of the stormtroopers. That's one thing I like, because that's the big thing with Harry Potter is that you can't meet Hagrid, you can't meet Harry Potter, you can't meet any of the main characters, but here in Galaxy's Edge, you can meet the big Star Wars characters.
Especially as well, since a majority of those characters are masked, and therefore you can just anybody. And it looks like them. There's that kind of. I remember last year watching a show, and they all came out, and you had Rey and all the rest of it. It's like, no, that just looks like a cosplay. Whereas Kylo Ren comes out, or the stormtroopers, you instantly recognize them. And Chewbacca kind of falls into that zone as well. I think that's definitely an advantage. Vader as well. Yeah, Darth Vader, the droid.
Because they can just use voice clips from the movie actors or the stand-in. Like Darth Vader is the stand-in for the games, but for Kylo Ren, we actually have Adam Driver doing the lines for the costume.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, I did watch the live presentation of them opening it up, where they brought in like Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill.
Where was Paul Rubens?
Who was he play?
Rex in Star Tours, and he did some new lines for Galaxy's Edge. He was spotted earlier that day with Mark Hamill and Billy D. Williams, so everybody was like, oh my god, Paul Rubens is going to be at the opening, but no, he wasn't there.
I think, to be honest, I think they kind of used name recognition. They were going for the big guns. They were brought,
I was surprised with Harrison Ford, considering his history with Star Wars and wanting to get out of the franchise as soon as Episode 7.
I think as well, it being in the fact that it was in LA is easier for them. They're where they live. I think if it was in Walt Disney World, that would have been a little bit bad. And also, it depends how much moolah they were given.
And also, he did do an ad lib and did a little tribute to Peter Mayhew during the opening ceremony. That's why there was a bit of a delay with the fireworks.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I thought that was a really good presentation. And just as a whole, a lot of publicity this week. I think that definitely worked to their favor of how they've promoted it. And I'm going to be interesting how this goes on. But obviously, let us know in the comments below or on social media what you think of Galaxy's Edge.